All right, good afternoon, everybody. I came here today to give you just one thing, and that is inspiration. I mean, your new life starts now. Well, in 15 minutes when I'm done talking. And I want to share a story with you. About 10 years ago, I started my career at consultant Bain & Company, and I was sent to London for an investment project. So we were helping our client, a big private equity firm, a big investor, to decide whether or not they should buy a certain company. And I was working with all kinds of lawyers and bankers and consultants on this project, you name it. And these guys were always referring to the word Gimp, or being the Gimp. And having seen the movie Pulp Fiction, I of course knew the Gimp. This guy, right? But I thought, so what role can a guy dressed in a latex suit, locked up in a basement cellar, what role could this guy possibly have in a corporate environment? And I knew there and then that I did not ever want to be the Gimp. Never. And neither should you, by the way. But what did it mean when we were referring to this term being the Gimp? I mean, Gimps, they work on their day off, in the weekend. Gimps, they do stupid analysis, which they think are useless. Gimps, they work for bosses that they hate. I mean, Gimps are basically locked up in that basement until someone drags them out to screw them. That's their life, of the Gimps. And I think the word Gimp is actually a pretty good metaphor for the way a lot of people nowadays seem to be stuck in a job that doesn't give but takes energy from them. Stuck, focused on corporate goals that they do not care about. Working in ways that they do not like. Stuck in a job where they have to work on moments of the day that they do not want to work. It really seems to me that a lot of people nowadays are choosing to be deliberately unhappy. Deliberately unhappy. I mean, isn't that the saddest thing? And maybe you are one of these people. One of these people who is always complaining a little bit about their job, about the way of working, which is not efficient, about their boss, maybe even about their marriage. Maybe you are one of these people who knows that one day they will be a writer, or an artist, or an entrepreneur. I mean, are you the pig? Are you the pig who is waiting to retire as a bacon sandwich? Because if you are, my friend, then you are choosing to be your own Gimp. So is there another way? Who's got the key to that basement? You do. You choose your own work. You choose your own life. You choose when you work. You choose how you work. You choose what you do. And if you can choose to be unhappy, you can also choose to be happy. And now you might ask me, of course, but Wouter, how? How should I do this? And the answer is, I don't know. Only you know. But I can tell you 3 simple stories. Stories about passion, about M&Ms, and about superheroes. And I want to start with passion. I mean, for 6-7 years, I had a fantastic time working at Heineken and also at Bain & Company. But over time, I realized that gradually, my kind of job satisfaction had gone down to, let's say, a 7 or 7.5 on a scale of 1 to 10. So okay, but definitely not great, right? It's kind of below the level where you would like to live your life on. So I asked myself the question, why is this? And it took me a while before I found out. But the reason was that my job wasn't really matching my personal values and beliefs. And I was working in a way that wasn't my way of working. So to give you an example, I once advised a client to move their factory to China so that they could use this really dirty, cheap kind of coal energy to save money. And this was pretty sound business advice. It just wasn't very good for my soul. And I'm looking at you, Mitt Romney, by the way. And also, I mean, I'm not a morning person at all, but I had to be there around 9 o'clock every day. That's just kind of the corporate way of doing things. But I hated it every day. So what did I do? I decided just to, and this took me actually a while, and it was actually quite a difficult process for me, to be honest, but I quit my job. I quit my job, and I took a year off to kind of press my own reset button. And I traveled a lot, I was reading books a lot, I bought a little boat here in the canals in Amsterdam, I partied quite a lot, I met my girlfriend, I watched loads of TED videos, and I really used this year to kind of think about what is important to me. What are my passions? What gives me energy and what takes energy from me? And after this year, I decided to start a company called 141, a social enterprise. And we sell 3 products: health insurances, stainless steel water bottles, and green energy. And with every product that we sell, we sponsor a similar kind of product for someone in need in Africa. 1 for 1. So if you buy your health insurance on our website, 1for1.nl, we will sponsor a health insurance for an orphan in Tanzania, like Richard or Brian here on the picture. And I love what I'm doing. It really gives me a lot of energy. I mean, it can be really tough as well, I have to be honest. Like financially, I mean, it's a big step back from my previous career, but also emotionally. I mean, as an entrepreneur, it really feels like a roller coaster with highs, for sure, but also deep lows, much lower than in a secure corporate job, I think, in my experience. But I love what I'm doing, and I'm really, really proud of that. And that cellar door, the door of that basement, is always open. Now let's talk about the M&Ms. I think everybody loves M&Ms, right? I mean, I love M&Ms for sure. I think most people here, look at some faces, I think most people love M&Ms. But you also know that M&Ms are really, really bad for you. And why are they bad for you? Because M&Ms are the managers and the meetings. And in this room, there's probably like 150, 200 people from the same company, and I would bet that 90% of you call yourself a manager. And during your working day, you have meetings with other managers. And then there's 10%, mostly here in the front rows, who don't call themselves a manager, they call themselves executive. And then there's 1% left, or actually there's 1% not in this room, and that's the people who do the actual work. They are never in the room. And M&Ms, I brought a few, they're a bit like companies, I think. Let's take a look. So, I mean, there's hundreds of them, right? And they all look a little bit different, but underneath, they are the same. And underneath, they're all the same. But companies, they stress about those little differences. And that's how you end up having 25 meetings with 40 managers to ultimately decide nothing. So do you know what I think we should do with M&Ms? Eat them. Sorry for that. So, is there a better way? Is there a better way? Yes, there is. I mean, this summer I met a guy from the UK, and he started selling pots of jam when he was 14 years old. And now, 10 years later, he is selling 1 million pots of jam in the UK in 1,000 supermarkets. And do you know how many people are working in his company? 1. It's just him. And why is this? Because there is no M&Ms. There are no managers and meetings in his company. And he's a big source of inspiration for me. So I try to run my social enterprise in the same way. Because it's more fun. But most importantly, I try to run an economically sustainable business. And I try to do as much good as possible in the most efficient way. without M&Ms. At the same time, I do work with a big group of freelancers, extremely talented and inspiring people who I would never be able to hire permanently in my company, and who would like to work in a corporate as little as I would like to create one. And we use new technologies and new possibilities and social media to work together and to communicate with our partners and our customers. And we've globalized. I mean, our bottles, our stainless steel bottles, they're made in China. We run development projects in 3 African countries. And the M&Ms in our office, they're still made in the USA. So finally, the superheroes. I mean, we all have our superheroes, right? I mean, who are your superheroes? Who are your role models? Who are really the people you really look up to? I mean, are you a superhero in your own eyes? And here I have to be honest. I used to be a little bit of a money man. And if my personal definition of a superhero, and I hate to admit this, but was largely defined by things like my job title, or my salary, or even my car. And I don't even like cars. And it gets worse. I mean, it wasn't about the intrinsic value of these things, it was about the relative value. So did I have a better job title than some other colleague, for example? Pathetic. I mean, I had become a victim of this rat race, or what Alain de Botton calls status anxiety. So I really needed to take a step back and find out who my real superheroes are. And it's people like this. This is my mother-in-law, who just a few weeks ago, she took her Sunday off, her free Sunday. She went to a retirement home to dress up as a witch and to entertain these folks there on her free Sunday afternoon. That's my superhero. And it's people like this. This is a couple I worked with in Tanzania this summer. He's a photographer and she's a journalist. And they gave up their safe, secure jobs here in Holland. They sold their house. They bought a Land Rover. And now they're making human interest stories all around Africa. They are living their dream. And every now and then, when I look into the mirror, I see my own tiny little superhero. I'm also trying to live my dream. And it doesn't always go well, but I'm giving it a shot. And I'm really trying to follow my passions and try to do things I really like. And I hope that each and every one of you here today will also dare to really, really follow their passions. Because nobody should ever have to be their own Gimp. Thank you very much.